The idea that kids can learn so much from unstructured play is gaining in new research and awareness. Learning naturally occurs during exploration, play, and inquiry. We have a great opportunity right now with our kids not in the classroom to see the benefits of play as it relates to learning. My guests today will share their knowledge and expertise and show us that play isn't just a waste of time. Welcome to Beyond the Classroom. I'm your host, Cathy Thompson. My first guest today is Sarah Brody. Sarah is an art therapist and co-founder of The Artery in Burlington. The Artery offers individual and group creative and therapeutic services in person and recently has opened a production component where they are posting art therapy inspired videos for creative people of all ages. A particular focus is intergenerational art making, like between children and parents and caregivers and seniors. So welcome, Sarah, to the show.
Thank you very much, Cathy.
No problem. I just love the work that you guys do at the Artery. I love the space, and I think it's such a magical place to create. And the fact that you're an art therapist and you use creativity in your work every day, I think is awesome. So I just
Thank you.
wanted to talk about talking to parents. Why do you think it's important for parents to instill this creativity with their kids?
So when I trained as a therapist, one of the things we heard all of our teachers say is that play is the work of the child. And so when children enter into that as if world of play, even whether it's in like a competitive kind of like more standard rule-based game or in creative role-playing make-believe, they're practicing what it's going to be like in their grown-up shoes or even just other shoes in their own. They're able to perspective take. There's a lot that's happening developmentally where children are learning to regulate themselves in excitement, but also disappointment, in taking leadership, but also following. So you can imagine that there's actually like more besides that they're doing both cognitively and also physically, bodily, they're regulating what's coming up and ideas and kind of rolling with it. And creativity, imaginary play, is where I think it's the development of the mind. It's where children are bringing forth what's on their mind, and it comes right into the characters that they want to play with, right into the art that they make. And you can really see what is on a child's mind by watching them play or looking at their artwork.
Yeah, I think those are really cool points about, that role playing, remember when you were a little kid and you used to do all these role playing games and you're the mom, you're the dad, and we're going to play house and and just that leadership and of those following roles. I think that that's really interesting viewpoint to think about that in that creative way and that development, as a little person, really. And so what are some of the ways that parents can work with their kids at home? What are some of those easy activities that they can encourage it? So not necessarily say, well, now we're going to play and this is on the schedule and and this is how we're going to play and this is the tool. So what are the ways that we can encourage it without sort of directing necessarily to that piece?
Sure. Well, I would say the first thing is like when a parent, when it crosses a mind, either when the child is asking the parent to play or whether it seems like the parent like should do that for some reason, like to be like engaged and just to get in there. I always take my own kind of temperature of like, do I want to? And sometimes it happens that the parents just like, yeah, we have a lot on our mind. There's a lot on the go. Getting down on the floor is sometimes not the priority. And and so what I suggest in that kind of warm up of starting in there, if this has been somehow like, you got to do it, and you're still not interested, is just to watch your child play. You can't watch your child for more than 10, 15 minutes without being interested. We're hardwired to be interested in what they're doing and thinking. And that will warm you up. And then I say, wait for the child to actually enlist you in play. Okay. Don't make it too
right. Have an invitation.
Well, and also like, don't fake having fun. Like go in and kind of, if you're like, err on the side of observing, and if they genuinely engage you in the game, then play.
Mm.
But I think we actually teach insincerity when we when we fake it. So it's kind of
Yeah.
better to just observe and wonder about what the play is functioning as for the child. And they like to be watched. And they
Mm.
don't always need a parent playmate, but they sure like an observer. But if they are really enlisting, make them work. Make them actually make it a genuine ask that you say a genuine yes.
Mm.
And then it doesn't have to be long. Like a play session, I like to make a point of finding what I call like an inside joke. So when you play with a child, play long enough so that you have something to pull on later when you need it. So
Mm.
if you're going to go into the imaginary realm, and let's say that your child has, I'm just going to grab one here, like a figurine.
Yes.
So this is a common little plaything. And this will be a common entreaty, is to ask for other people to be another plaything. First of all, I do recommend to parents to not give too much direction to the game, but ask for the child to be your director. Because actually you're winning points there, because it's only in play that children are actually able to access a sense of control. And the
Mm.
rest of the time we're in control. So
Yeah.
if you let them control the game, you win points because you're teaching them kind of what it's like to be a parent or a grown up.
Mm.
And you can use that to your advantage later and say, this isn't a game anymore. Now I'm the one in charge. You're in charge
Mm.
when we play together. And that kind of works.
Mm.
Um, the other thing I would say is, well, and before I go on, anything that strikes you from that, Kathy?
Yeah, I think that that's, that point around that feeling of control,
Mhm.
because little kids don't have a lot of control in their day.
Mhm.
And, that feeling of having, it's not power, but just having that control and the ability to lead uh, at a young age, I think is really cool. And it's a neat way to look at it. As
Mhm.
parents, sometimes we don't look at it that way. We're just like, I don't really get this at all. What is the
Yeah.
point? You try to be nice and you try to be normal about it and just saying, can you tell me more? Can you, just encouraging them to be the leader and have that lens, I think is interesting.
Right. Right. And I mentioned the inside joke thing.
Yeah.
And that's basically like, if it's character play, and I'm just because it's in my hand and it's in my
Mhm.
imagination, imagine that it's character play. Come out with a tagline so that when you leave the game, that you have something that will bring back a fond memory of playing together when you need it.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that way when your authority is waning or you need to just up a mood, you have this little way of recollecting in a way that I find very meaningful to children, is that tagline will bring them back into a playful state.
Mm, very interesting. That's great. And so I know you're working on a new project you were talking
Yes.
about
Mhm.
with, I believe it's the Patreon website and that
That's right.
intergenerational art. Can you tell us more about that? I think it's
Sure. Well, it
awesome.
totally came out of the pandemic. So I was working up and then stopped like the rest of us. Well, I transferred it into video, but I do find that when I speak with children, I need more direction to give when I'm online.
Hmm.
And I also was missing them. I was missing my clients, and I was missing my family and my friends. And so as an artist, and this is where art therapy works, I made an art film and sent it to my clients and I sent it to my family. And it was like sending a curated visit,
Hmm.
because we have these Zoom calls, which are like a phone, like it's like a phone conversation. It's nice, but there's something that's missing about the rest of the body, and about just being able to be in a mind state together. That takes some time and some doing. What I did was I made videos that created a shared experience by inviting people to make the same art that I make on the screen.
Hmm.
And it the first one came very organically. I made art with my son, and we talked about it over top of the video so that you could hear what was inside of our mind as we, in this case, painted and drew. And it was pretty freestyle. We just
Hmm.
did what we wanted to do on a piece of paper and talked about it later. And you get a little bit of a glimpse into the mind of an art therapist, I think, when you watch it.
Yeah.
And I think that also, it provides a starting point if a parent and child, or also any two people want to do the same artwork. It's actually a joining activity. So we can be in different places. And that's what happened, is when people saw this, they did the same artwork and they sent me pictures.
Oh,
And
that's
that was,
awesome.
it filled me with joy.
Mm.
And that's what led to me developing a series. And the series was picked up by the Burlington Foundation and the Willow Foundation as a way to engage with people who especially are senior citizens who are in isolation. And it's being sent to different residences around Burlington, but also to their families and their grandchildren. And all of those people are making the same art, and they're sending pictures of it to their grandparents and their great grandparents. And there's sort of a collective art making that's happening. And because it's the same idea, there's this link. And I have this dream of having a show with all the different art together, because you see the link. And that's something we need these days.
I think that's so cool. And I did watch the video and I loved how it was produced. I loved the overlay and the thoughts, and it was really calming, actually. I encourage people to go, and we'll have that on my website as well.
Thank you.
So in our last minute together, what are a couple of resources that people that are watching can access? And
Sure. So Cathy, you know what? The easiest way to make a quick image is collage. Get yourself a piece of paper. If it has a frame already, then you're in business. Get yourself a little cutout character and make yourself a little world.
Yeah.
And then don't forget to ask some questions about it, like, what's her name? What's she thinking? Where is she? Where was she? Where's her family? Who are her people? Ask questions about your kids' art the same way you would about their new friend or their new frenemy or their new enemy. And you'll find out, you'll be able to see what's on their mind.
I think that's amazing. And collage, I mean, anyone can do a collage. Like you were saying, there's usually people have old magazines and different things, and even family photos, you can cut them up and create things and really use that creativity. And I love your points around asking those questions, and what's the mood and where are they and that kind of thing. So I just want to thank you so much, Sarah, for your perspective on this, for your background experience and sharing all this with us today. So I appreciate you being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you very much, Cathy.
My last guest today is Ashley Lehman. Ashley is an Ontario certified teacher and graduated from Laurier and Nipissing's concurrent education program in June 2019. She is now a grade 1 teacher and loving every minute. Along with teaching and tutoring, Ashley is involved in the arts, both choreographing competitively and performing in community musical theater productions. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No problem. I love reading that you're so involved with theater and choreographing. That's very cool.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So as a teacher, I'd love to get your perspective on the play-based curriculum. So as you know, I don't know, I think it was around 10, 12, 15 years ago, they changed the kindergarten curriculum into the play-based model. So can you tell me what types of skills kids acquire using this type of model versus the regular classroom experience?
Absolutely. A lot of the time within the play-based learning, there's a lot more of collaboration that's happening. So that's also helping students learning the ability to work with ideas, sharing toys, especially when it comes to more of the pretend type of play, to actually be able to be at the same level of wanting the same things and be able to compromise. A lot more communication too. And I know there's some students out there with less communication skills or vocabulary. So at least being able to communicate through body language too. So if they're not able to communicate it vocally, to be able to go grab someone's hand and bring them over, even if it's a teacher or another student. Some other things they would need is creativity, which we know all children have some sort of creativity. So their ability to use their imagination. So a lot of the time I've always thought about, even when I was doing like preschool stuff too, when children are drawing and they're just kind of scribbling around, in their minds, it's a family portrait or maybe a picture of a farm or something. But for us, we're not seeing that, but at least they're using that imaginative skills to be able to kind of somewhat communicate that on paper. Just having the basic listening skills and the following instruction skills. We know it's not going to be perfect with them being so young. They're going to fight you on certain things, but just being able to have somewhat of being able to somewhat listen to the best of their ability and follow instruction. Even if they don't understand it, we'll be able to guide them to then eventually it will help with the whole tidy up thing. So when it says tidy up, they'll just tidy up automatically. And also with like lunchtime, getting stuff organized for lunchtime or rest time or whatever other breaks you would have throughout your day. And then it's not a skill, but children will also be learning how to develop routines. So an example would be just being able to like what your schedule look like for the day would be, okay, this is the time that you're arriving to school or to whatever activity you're doing. Between this time and this time, so let's say 9 to 11, you're doing more literacy-based activities. Doesn't mean they're writing full pen and paper and writing stories, but it'll be story reading time, maybe doing some letter blocks, tracing letters, lots of fun literacy-based activities. They'll have their break for lunch and rest time. They'll have some play centers, which at least it's kind of guided play in a way, saying, okay, this is kind of maybe the subject or the idea that we're working with, and let's try to incorporate play through that. So it is somewhat guided, but it's also a lot of inquiry based. So I kind of like how you're able to guide them in a certain direction, but allow them to choose how they're going to play with that. And then there's also, they include a lot of math-based centers too, which can include blocks, which you wouldn't really incorporate math with blocks, but even like the little Legos and everything, they have all those little things at the top, so you're able to stick them together. It's also learning, okay, how can I put a 2-piece with like something that's larger? How is that going to fit? So those mathematical skills definitely come out as well.
Yeah, definitely the problem solving.
Yeah.
I love the piece around the communication and not necessarily words, but like physical actions and leading someone over. And so, for parents, a lot of play-based learning, we're like, well, how does that prepare them for grade 1? Like, what is the research saying about the benefits of play-based learning at the kindergarten level?
Yeah, absolutely. Play-based learning is basically, it's just an effective practice that really does deepen the understanding for students, and it helps to actually engage them in a variety of different settings, whether that's like inside the classroom, outside the classroom, out in public, whatnot. Also with different subjects, whether that's literacy-based subjects, math, science, social studies, art, etc., everything else that we teach, also including social and emotional learning, which I think is really important for them to learn, and also different groupings, being able to work on their own with a partner, small group, large group, and like a whole class kind of environment. They're also learning about how to belong and what their belonging is, because we kind of, at that age, you're told everything. You're told what to do. You're told who you are. They don't really fully understand that yet. And that's something that will develop as they get older. So learning about their belonging and how they're going to contribute to their learning, their self-regulation too. So when it says tidy up time, that they're just able to get up and go and do it rather than have to be fully guided all the time. And they're also learning about their overall well-being, with their happiness, their feelings. Why are they happy? Why are they sad? Why might they be angry? Those type of emotions they're going to be learning. They will end up demonstrating a lot of literacy and mathematical behavior. So literacy even through just communication, being able to play pretend and be able to reiterate, oh, you have to eat your dinner before you have your dessert. That's literacy in a way, but they're also playing and they're also stating all the information that they've been learning from you as well, which is really, really interesting how that all kind of pieces together. And they also learn a lot about problem solving and innovation. So being able to be creative beings and whatnot.
Yeah, those are really excellent points. And I know new research is coming out all the time. When I was preparing for the show, I was looking at different, even the Lego Foundation has a white paper on play and play-based learning. So I thought that's just fascinating. So one of the things I'm curious about is that you're a grade 1 teacher. And so you've got all these kindies coming out and coming into your class. They're used to the play-based learning. So how do you guide them from that? Or do you incorporate play-based learning in grade 1 as well to sort of ease them in? Or how does that work?
My school is a little different because I am at a private school. So some of the expectations are slightly different. At my school, personally, JK is very much play-based. SK is like half play-based, half structured. That's just how they've laid it out, which has also helped with the transition, bringing them to grade 1. I know not every school is like that, but I find giving them opportunity to play anyways. So every single day at the end of the day, I would have 30 minutes of free time. And sometimes that free time would be, okay, meet with me and let's discuss what we've learned today. Sometimes it would be, okay, I want you to try this instead. So it's somewhat guided free time, and they could choose different activities. And I also included, like, if they were done their work, because some of it, well, especially once we got into a routine, some of it was easy for them to do by themselves, where I was like, okay, I need you to do your spelling works. They're able to print that on their own. They don't need me there for that. They just need me to keep them on track. And when they were done, they would hand it in, and then they would know to, okay, I have to get certain activities. So I would say, okay, today's math activities. So they would go grab math activities, and they would either work on by themselves or with a partner, and they would do that, which was really, really interesting. So it was a bit of a struggle at first to get them into it. I mean, it did help me, at least, with the fact that they already had that structure coming in. But from other placements that I had prior to becoming OCT, it was a big struggle, and it took teachers a lot of time. And they said, okay, we have to start with incorporating play and then slowly peel back the Band-Aid. So it's not just one big rip and it hurts. It's more, okay, let's do little pieces here and there. So I find if you take it in smaller stages, they're more receptive to it.
Yeah, and so in terms of that, now that the kids aren't in the classroom and, you know, parents are responsible for a lot of activities, how could they incorporate those play-based activities, or what are some suggestions you could provide that, you know, parents can do with their kids that emulate that play-based learning style?
Absolutely. Definitely schedule a routine. So, and stick to that routine every single day to the best of your ability. I know it's hard especially with our circumstances right now with COVID, it's sometimes hard for working parents to be able to do all of that. So one thing, definitely do that routine and keep it to that routine to the best of your ability. Another tip would be to try to actually avoid interrupting their play. So try to avoid asking the questions all the time or saying, oh, you should play with this kind of thing. Let them play, because it's going to help them expand on that learning. And then they're going to be able to incorporate that into something else. So if they're always playing with cars, it's not a bad thing. They're working on those fine motor skills. They're listening to the sounds, the speeds, all that. So they are still learning something. I'm personally not against screen time. I like to limit screen time, but I'm not against it. And I think especially now where technology is becoming more and more and more prominent, it's really important that we also engage students in that technology. So using resources, even on YouTube, they have super simple songs, Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, Treehouse even has all their episodes that you can stream for free. And I think if you sit down for 30 minutes and you're learning about sharing and stuff through a TV show, sometimes they're more receptive to it than just telling them what to do, because they're more engaged. So having that 30 minutes of screen time every day isn't going to hurt them. Incorporating blocks and puzzles are great because it works on the strategic side. Dress up and pretend. Many of the ideas that they'll come up with will absolutely shock you. It's amazing how much they retain, and especially things that they've heard and repeat. It's pretty funny. Baking is always fun. They love to bake and they love to get their hands dirty. So it doesn't mean you have to actually serve what they're baking, but at least let them be part of that, because they always want to be like mommy and daddy, or like their siblings. So let them engage in that opportunity to be like mommy and daddy. A really good website is Go Noodle. I love it. It has a lot of yoga or singing or dancing or just active-based activities. It is in front of a screen, but at least it gets them up and moving rather than sitting down. So if you really need to do something and you're like, okay, I want them to do something active, that's a really good opportunity, because they also can make their monster grow and they love it. It's so much fun.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool. I just find music helps them too. They said by the time you're like 5 years old, you already know 2,000 tunes or songs or lyrics in general. So just think about how much we have accumulated over these years. Think about ABCs. We're learning ABCs with a song. So it's telling you that music really helps with learning. That's how we learn. That's how we retain information. So using that in the classroom or even at home is really beneficial. And then just any sensory-based activities, sand table, water table, little toys, obviously not enough that they would choke, but those type of things so that they can learn to be more sensory-based. And then just the simple cardboard box. It sounds very funny, but they'll sit in it and pretend to be an astronaut. They'll color it, they'll cut it out, they'll glue stuff to it. It's really fascinating to see what they'll come up with.
Yeah, and I think that the idea of letting them play and not interrupting them and thinking, oh, well, they've been playing with that for a long time, we should switch activities. If they're doing well and they're being creative and having fun, in the cardboard box or with the pots and pans, whatever it may be, why not, right? They are learning skills, they are using their creativity. So I thought you suggested a lot of terrific things for parents, and I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today, Ashley.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No problem. Take good care.
Yes, you too.
I thought my guest today had some great examples of how we can be creative and encourage play at home. It's okay for your child to be bored and have some downtime. It helps them develop their creative muscles and curiosity about the world. For more information about the resources from today's show, visit beyondtheclassroom.ca. Thanks for watching.